G'day to all my friends and family, and welcome to Jim's 5am Club. Just in case you're not aware, I'm up here at Nelson Bay on Mount Tomaree, and as you can see, it's a magnificent winter's day, and from where I stand I get a nice, 180 degree view all the way across there to the lighthouse, the Spit at Fingal Bay, as well as the beaches down here. We've got, let me show with my finger. Whereabouts is it? I can't show it because the camera's pointing at me. But we've got Zenith Beach down the bottom here on my left. Then we've got Box Beach and one of the other beaches, which I forget the name of the beach. So what I want to do today on this beautiful Saturday morning, where I'm perched up here on the cliff face with the magnificence of the geography behind us. I can see whales breaching, so just above my head there, I saw a number of whales breaching earlier. So I think they've moved on, but just in case you see anything splashing in the water out there, it's whale season, and there are thousands of whales migrating up the coast, going to the warmer waters where hopefully they can calve and come back with a bigger number than what went up there. So what I want to do today is take you on a book summary, take you on a journey, and the book summary that I've chosen for today is called Prisoners of Geography. And it's an unusual book, but what it does is it looks at different nations, it looks at different countries, and it basically looks at the geography of those places and is able to then use that to describe the reason for what their strengths are and what they've been able to leverage. Because what they're saying is that the environment shapes the political, the social, and the economic futures of our environments, of our countries, of our families. So where you are born, where you grow up, will have a significant impact on how you live, how you see the world, and the opportunities that you're able to leverage. It makes sense when you sit and think about it, but unless somebody tells you this thing, then you probably won't sit and think about it. But this author here, Tim Marshall, is going to take us on a journey and show us, three specific countries, one being Russia, the other one being the United States, and the other one being Europe, and explain to us how those environments, how those countries have had an impact on the political, the economic, and the social environments. So the author here kicks off with a question, an interesting question that we should mull over. And he says, why do you think your values would work in a culture that you don't understand? So it's all about understanding or trying to understand different cultures from a different perspective, looking at the geographic impacts that have shaped those cultures, which will enable us to understand them a little bit better. The first point that the author makes here is that the geography that you inherit has a big impact on the style of government and the power base that you're able to enjoy. So where you live, the environment you're surrounded in, has a massive impact, according to this author, on how you see the world and how you fit into the world. And the first example is Russia. So what the author says is that Russia has a big and strong presence in the Baltics because it needs to have that strong presence, and it needs to control the Baltic countries in order to protect itself from getting invaded from the west. Why would this be, do you think? And the author gives us a bit of a geography lesson, saying that Russia is an absolute enormous country made up of 6 million square miles. Absolutely huge. Makes Australia look bloody small in comparison. And it is without doubt the biggest country in the world. And with that comes advantages and disadvantages, according to the author. Because Russia has a flat landmass, a big, massive, flat landmass, which is very, very difficult to defend. So you can see that it's surrounded by lots of countries, and its flat landmass makes it vulnerable. So it's surrounded by France, Belgium, Netherlands, North Germany, Poland, and ends in the Ural Mountains. So it's got vulnerability all around. So on average, it's interesting to view this, that Russia on average gets attacked once every 33 years. Once every generation there's an attack happening to Russia. And by understanding that, and by understanding the vulnerabilities, I guess you can also understand why they act the way they act as a government, because there is that vulnerability, that protection that they need to keep. They need to keep their defences up all the time, because at any point in time they are vulnerable to attack. So it makes sense for them to be sensitive. It makes sense for them to be secretive. It makes sense for them, to a certain extent, to bully others around them, to exert their strength, to exert their power, just to cause people to think twice about attacking or crossing the borders. So as we said, the flatness of the landmass makes them very, very vulnerable to attack. So what Russia does, what can Russia do in order to protect itself? It focuses its attention on Poland and the Baltic states. Why does it do that? Because it's tough for people to attack Russia through those states once they're controlled and under their control. The next country that this book author takes into consideration and talks about is the United States of America. What makes them so unique? What makes their geography, their environment specific, and allows them to be a freer nation than the US, than Russia? And the author here talks about the geography. Once again, we talked about the geography of Russia, and now the author turns to the geography of the United States and says that unlike Russia, the United States is invulnerable. The location of the United States gives it a unique global advantage. It has a unique geographic location, and the neighbours that it has good relations with. So if attacked through those neighbours which it has good relations with, they will defend those lines, and will have impossibly long supply lines that any other country would need to manage and maintain in order to continue the attack. So on the east and the west, the United States has oceans as borders. So invaders would need to cross an entire ocean on both sides to get to the United States. So as you can see, the United States of America has some wonderful, wonderful advantages that allow it to be bold, allow it to be brilliant, and allow it to take risks because of its location that it has inherited. It's all also, I never thought about this, but it was raised to my attention, and I never ever considered this, but I like it. I like it a lot. The reason why America has so many lax gun laws, so many lenient gun laws, is because it adds to its security. Just think about it. Each city in America, in the USA, can take up arms and defend themselves without the government, if necessary. So anybody thinking of attacking the USA, first of all, needs to cross two massive oceans. So, their actions are on notice. They've got neighbours at both ends, which they have good relationships with, that will defend their lands and not allow others to cross through them. They've got good neighbours, they've got good relations, and the supply lines that would need to be maintained are very, very big and would be impossible to maintain. And they've got these gun laws where every single person has the ability and capability to defend their land. So there you go. That puts the United States into perspective and allows us to understand a little bit better how they have evolved and how they behave and why they behave the way they behave, because they are confident, they are invulnerable, whereas other countries are vulnerable, which makes them act differently. The last point that the author talks about here is Europe and the differences between Northern Europe and Southern Europe. Once again, the geographies that these countries have inherited have given them advantages. And I, being of Greek extraction, being of Greek origin, understand and now understand better how some countries are stronger economically than other countries. So what the author here talks about is that the Northern European countries flourish whilst its southern neighbours struggle all the time because of geography. You only have to travel to Greece to see the rockiness and the aridness and the dryness of the country to understand that it has its limitations. It has its strengths in terms of its coastal and its water, ocean or sea borders, Mediterranean borders, but it has some other challenges in terms of its landmass and its ability to feed itself. The world's thriving societies are in the largest part a result of temperate climate with soil and generous rainfall, which is what we're suggesting here in terms of Northern Europe. And it's not because they created it, it's because they inherited it. God's gifts to some countries are so powerful and so everlasting and so enduring that they make a huge, huge difference to their economic power, which translates to their social power and their spiritual power and all the other things. So some countries have thrived more than others. The Eurozone crisis in 2012 basically pointed out and showed us the differences between the North and the South. Northern European or Northern Europe, the plains are gifted. France, Belgium, the Netherlands, Germany, all have good soil, good crops, and it's more luck than effort. Whereas the southern countries tend to have less arable land, and hence why Greece has small cities. I remember back in 2012 how the commentators were saying that the southern Europeans are the way they are because they're lazy. because they're this and they're that. And of course it's all bullshit. All of the Greeks that I know in Greece are extremely hardworking. The statistics show that they work on average longer hours than their northern counterparts. But the difference, what is the difference? The difference is the geography. They don't have the wealth of the plains, the wealth of rainfall, the wealth of all the other benefits that the northern Europeans have, that they can sit back and point the finger to the southern neighbours and claim, how dare they, claim that the Greeks, the Italians, the Spanish, the Portuguese, the pigs are lazy. So once again, I really enjoyed going through this book summary because it helped put a number of things into perspective for me. And it happens in families. Some people are born into privilege. They go to the best schools, they go to university, they take over their parents' businesses, and then they look down on other people, trying to suggest that the other people are lazy, and their misfortune is because of their lack of education and lack of this, that, and the other. Whereas they don't look at themselves and see that they were privileged from the very beginning because of what they inherited, what their parents inherited, and what good fortune they may have had through luck. Who knows? Everybody has their path in life. Some people have an easier path than others, but we shouldn't use that as a way of separating people from each other and making judgment on their character and on their work ethic. So thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club, where I come to you from Mount Tomaree. As you can see, it's a glorious day. We've got on the one side Shoal Bay and Port Stephens, and on the outside we've got Fingal Bay and the Pacific Ocean. So I look forward to coming to you again from a different location with a different message, a message of empowerment where we can live, learn and pass it on. Let's continue to grow and develop and share our experiences, our knowledge, so that we can become partners in each other's growth and development. And I'll finish off with a positive affirmation. I'm alive, I am well, and I feel absolutely great. To my friends and family, stay connected, stay relevant, stay reasonable, and most importantly, let's take some of these lessons and understand that the fortune that some people enjoy is based on the geography, on the environment that they are brought up in, and it has a huge impact on how people think, how people behave, and the resilience and strengths that they're able to generate. So thank you for joining me on this episode where we talked about a book summary entitled Prisoners of Geography by Tim Marshall. And once again, it is a glorious winter's day where I'm up here at Nelson Bay on Mount Tomaree, and I look forward to coming to you again from a different location with a different message, a message of empowerment. And thank you. Yassas. Bye for now.